Everyone, thank y'all for joining us for our Beef Brunch news update for Tuesday, February 18th. So it looks very different today. We just wrapped up the LSU State Livestock Show. So congratulations to all those exhibitors that had their livestock here. When I say just wrapped it up, I mean an hour ago. So we're still filming at the show barn. A lot of us have been down here for multiple days. Lee did film and record his update. So we will actually attach that to the ending of our recording here. But we will kick it off with Tripp for the Northeast.
Y'all have to bear with me and forgive me for a little bit of an unprepared and short update. We were running on fumes at the end of this week, but it's been a great show. The kids have had a great time. The 4-H livestock program is such a big part of the lives of so many people in our communities, and it's a great gateway to agriculture for these kids. And very proud to see them out here working hard and doing a good job raising these animals. And it gives me a lot of courage or a lot of encouragement that that's the generation that we'll be passing the torch to. I think it's going to be left in good hands. Brief update on the Northeast region. It's very wet up there. I mean, we got water standing in turn rows. Every body of water is backed up. It's very wet, so that's limiting what producers can do in their fields. Speaking of field conditions, ryegrass has rebounded from our cold weather that we had a couple of weeks ago very well. And guys, as springtime is right upon us. South Louisiana, Central Louisiana, you can see the signs of it more clearly. But even up there where I'm at, you're starting to see signs that spring's right around the corner. Our volunteer ryegrass is starting to pick up. There's some grazing going on the volunteer variety, or not volunteer varieties. On our volunteer ryegrass, you're starting to pick up a little bit of grazing here than there on it. Our planted varieties are doing very well. They've come back from the cold weather. There's been a few small applications of nitrogen put out. So we're in really good shape, and we're coming into probably my favorite time of year is springtime. Something special about springtime on a cattle operation. I'm just ready for a little bit warmer days, more consistently warm days, and hope we keep getting some moisture. Moisture is not an issue right now, especially over in the Delta. We've got sufficient moisture in the hill country and Union and Ouachita parishes. But like I always say, we're 2 weeks away from a drought over there just about all the time. Calving is over halfway. Most of our spring calving guys are either halfway or getting close to done. Most of that happens end of January, first part of February in our region, and have not heard any negative stories. And that's always a great thing. Spring works, like I said, are in underway. At our last update, I believe I talked about this. A lot of those are getting wrapped up now, actually, as we're preparing to plant corn. Be very quickly. Our farmers, as soon as it gets dry enough, we see starting to see people get in the field and doing some field work. So a lot of our spring works for our row crop guys have already wrapped up, and the rest of us will be dragging on through May pretty well. But it's rocking and rolling. And things are good up my way. I'm going to go ahead and pass the baton to whoever's got it next.
Brittany. Okay. Thanks, Tripp, for a great update as always. And just to, reiterate what Tripp said, we've had a great week here at the State Livestock Show. It's been great to, get to see so many people that we've gotten to know over the years. Watching these kids grow up through the program, as well as just visiting with people from all across the state. So very good, very happy to have that opportunity to be here and help out with that. Definitely ready to go home this evening, though. I will say that. So I did see, when I was in the office before I left to come here last week, I did notice, over probably December, January, I'd say I really didn't get a whole lot of soil sample results. Now I'm starting to see those roll into my email a little bit more. So as springtime comes, we are getting more people that are checking their soil, which is great. We always recommend that, and especially 3 to 6 months at least before you're going to plant, just so you can make sure whatever you need to get added to the soil, whether it's your nitrogen, potassium, phosphate, any of that, you want to make sure that you get those numbers and get your pH, at the optimum level for whatever you're going to plant there. I have also gotten a few calls just in terms of, people still looking to either put out a pre-emergent herbicide. It's still not too late for that for some of those. You just want to make sure, this week would probably not be a great time for it, just with the weather being as cold as it is and what it's, coming to be in the next few days. But as always, reach out to one of your extension agents if you're not sure kind of what the best thing to do is there. Vince and I have been working on our getting pesticide applicators, private applicators recertified. So we have a meeting coming up on Thursday in Oberlin over in Allen Parish. So again, just want to remind everyone that if your card's expiring this year, make sure you are reaching out and you know when those meetings are so you can attend. And also just what Tripp said, as far as the ryegrass, we've seen it. We saw it come back, I would say, within about a week or so after the snow had melted and everything. I did talk to one of our producers just within the last week or two who said, like oats that were planted in a mixed forage situation, they were, hurt by the cold weather. But again, just ryegrass has recovered really, really well from that. And I did just want to remind for my area at least, so we have a Master Cattleman. And I know Ashley will list them all at the end of the video, but we have a Master Cattleman that we have planned for the central region over in Rapides Parish at the DeWitt facility. And our registration for that is due by February 24th. So that deadline's coming up here pretty soon. I think it's the 24th.
Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, it is Monday. Okay. So I'll be reaching out to some people, that had expressed interest. And it's not too late to get signed up for that. So you can always reach out to me or Tyler Barlow, who's the agent in that parish. And then in Opelousas at Dominique Stockyard, we do have a bull breeding soundness exam coming up. It's going to be Thursday, March 6th. So we've been kind of putting that information out as well. But you can reach out to myself or Lainey Richard, who's in Lafayette, and we can get y'all scheduled for that. It's definitely a great time to make sure we are getting those bulls checked as we go into, a breeding season coming up. And you want to make sure that your bulls are, up to par, because it's just not something I would gamble with personally. If you happen to lose a calf, not have a calf that year, it's money out of your pocket. So we just want y'all to be aware of these opportunities, and please reach out if you need anything else for the time being. And so Vince, we'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Brittany and Ashley and Tripp. And I was fortunate to be able to spend a couple of days down in Gonzales with those guys and help out with the livestock show and on the beef side of things. And like Brittany said, and Tripp as well. It's always a good time when meeting old friends and new friends and making new friends. And those times are always very treasured. And as Tripp mentioned, that's our future moving forward. And we see a lot of bright spots in those young people. So thank them and their parents for allowing the grandparents allowing them to follow through with the things that we enjoyed as children in Louisiana. So in the central part, and Brittany mentioned about the BSC. I just want to touch on the the value of a breeding herd sire. I recently read an article on Drover's Journal, and one of the specialists, I don't remember who wrote the article, but the value that you put on to purchasing a new herd sire, if in the event that you have one that does not test ahead of this breeding season coming up in the spring, you have to value what today's market is. And as I'm sure Lee will cover in his segment, what the market is doing, the market is still astronomically high. So those days of going out and buying a $2,000, $3,000, even $5,000 or $6,000 bull are probably behind us at this point in time in the industry. So the estimate was that you could probably place an annual value on a breeding bull herd sire for your operation to be somewhere to replace about 5 of those calves that he sires. So in today's world, if you do the simple math on a calf that's going to bring nearly $2,000, that's placing a value on a breeding herd sire that's going to fit the criteria for your breeding process and purposes whether it be birth weights or yearling weights or weaning weights or whatever it may be, that's a $10,000 price tag. So those days of those inexpensive bulls, and as my grandpa always told me, cheap cows are not good and good cows are not cheap. So you got to place the value in your breeding program to where the industry is today. So today it's we're in uncharted waters or times unseen, if you would. So make that good investment. Make a wise investment. Don't overspend, but you got to place the value in the perspective of what's going on in the market today. As Tripp and Brittany both mentioned, yeah, spring, the onset of spring is definitely with us, but man, we're wet. We had probably 5 to 7 inches of rain over the last 3 rain events we had in the central part of the state. We have a lot of emergence of our native clovers coming out, white clovers. As you move up more to the central part of the area, a lot of our cattle people, larger herds depend on Persian clover, and that has started to emerge and be productive for those folks. So that's a very rich source of protein in their hay, their early hay cuttings. When we get into May and June, probably late April through the month of May, a lot of that Persian clover will be added into a hay cutting that is very valuable to many of our larger producers. So be mindful of that. Several producers went out and treated for the buttercups, which we're starting to see the emergence of the floral display at this time. 2,4-D is a simple, easy, cheap treatment, which could have been done back in probably late November, early December, when our ryegrass emerged. I had a question recently at how will it affect the ryegrass today? Well, you'll probably see some stunning, though 2,4-D is strictly a broadleaf herbicide. You will see some stunning and some burning if you have some overlap or some over application of it. But it should come out of it within a week to 10 days or so. We're seeing some top dress going out on fertilizer to get that accelerated growth coming into March and April. That's our biggest grazing months on our winter planted forages. And fortunately, we had a good stand. We had good emergence of our forages that were planted in the fall. Though it didn't seem it was going to be that way, we had timely rains, and has been really, really good grazing over the last 60 to 90 days or so. With that being said, I think we're going to see some volunteer ryegrass coming, but it's not too late to treat those buttercups if you would, but you are starting to see them. So you will have a seed bank moving forward into next planting season. So if you would just be a little proactive, maybe next fall, if the ground allows it, on some permanent or even prepared seed beds, to go ahead and make that investment into that 2,4-D application. Half a pint of 2,4-D is not going to have any negative impact on the white clovers, but you don't want to wait too late. As we mentioned, the Persian clover can be affected by the 2,4-D application. So here we are, as Tripp mentioned, calf workings, spring, our fall calves, most have been worked. Spring calving season is upon us. Be vigilant of those cows that are off by themselves. Either they have a calf or had trouble having a calf. It's a problem. I got home from the state show and I had one that was born. His eyes are not open. I don't know what the deal is with it, but the cow was off by herself. It seems like it's deformed of some sort. Cow that I've had no trouble with in the past. Short tail and the eyes are not open. So I don't know what I'm dealing with here. It's been my first experience in 33 years of being in the cattle business, but we'll have to deal with that and move forward. But he's nursing and doing well. So just strange things happen, and be vigilant of those cattle that are off by themselves. There's something going on. They're hurting animals in nature. So be aware of problems. Saw pictures of a prolapse cow with a calf that was breached this morning. All those things happen. If you got cattle, you're going to have those issues, and be prepared for them. So we always talk about the vet-client relationship. Oftentimes we can't do business in the cattle industry without vet assistance. So make sure you have that vet-client relationship, especially in the need of antibiotics and things of that nature to get your cattle, keeping them healthy and moving forward. So that's all I have at this time. And we just look forward to a good, productive spring. We have cold weather coming in tonight and tomorrow. wind chills in the single digits, I think Thursday morning and Friday morning in the teens. So forecast is in Tripp and Ashley's part of the world to have some frozen precip. So be careful of that, guys. It's going to be tough. But we have a few days of extremely frigid cold weather coming.
Thank you, Vince. Tripp's got one more to add.
Yeah, if you are running short of hay, please reach out to your local extension agents. There's a lot of hay in the country, and I know some people might not have purchased enough or had to feed extra with the inclement weather that we've had. There's plenty of hay out there, guys. So just reach out to your county agent, and we're more than happy to help get you in contact with somebody that has hay available in your area.
Thank you. And I'm not going to go through the full list of all the events today. Not much has changed from the last couple of news updates, excuse me, that we've been doing. But I will say that June 12th was that, or will be that hay day, that forage field day that Lee and I mentioned during the last news update. So I did add that to the bottom. The Master Cattleman classes are all up and online, so double check all those and those registration dates for that. If you have any questions on any of those, please reach out to us. Remember that after this, I am going to attach Lee's recording onto that. So hang out and see what Lee says for his update and for the markets. But that's all that we have for y'all today. We will see y'all again in just a couple of weeks.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to be with you all here today. Glad to be able to provide my report. I know it's a little bit different how we're doing this in different segments, and I know my colleagues are at the State Livestock Show, and I heard that's going well, and wish everybody luck on that. I know they're kind of drawing to the conclusion there, but I'm going to tell you all a little bit about what we're seeing in Northwest Louisiana and also provide a market update for you all because it is a hot topic right now. As far as Northwest Louisiana goes, it's been a little bit of a mixed bag. Temperature and weather wise, we've had quite a bit of rain. That's the constant. We're very wet in our part of the world, and ground is really saturated, and we've had plenty of rainfall. Temperatures, it's been a mixed bag. It's been all over the thermometer as far as temperatures go. We've had a couple of days up into the 80s, which we really enjoyed, and we've also had some bitterly cold temperatures. And looking forward on the forecast, we're looking at some lows down into the high teens, it looks like, by midweek, later part of this week. Hope we avoid any winter precipitation. There's a little bit of that on the forecast. We don't need that this time of the year. Boy, since the last news update, the volunteer winter forages, volunteer cool season forages have really started to become a factor and started to play a role in these pastures and cattle diets and everything. The clover's starting to look good, in our part of the country. We really rely on clover, especially in the Red River Valley, and it's definitely a blessing for us. And we're starting to see signs of that coming out. Starting to see cattle pick a little bit more on it. Also seeing some volunteer ryegrass growing and everything, and especially these warm days really did it good. The planted cool season forages, the ryegrass, the wheat, et cetera, and so forth, are looking really good. And they took a hammering during that cold snap we had, but by and large, they look really good for this time of the year, and they're really starting to show off. And the gains that cattle are experiencing on is starting to show off those that had some stock cattle turned out on them and everything. Fertilizer continues to be an issue. You've got to make sure that you have the adequate fertilizer out there so that those crops can reach their fullest potential, especially this time of year, using a lot of nitrogen on ryegrass and stuff like that. So getting into kind of the transitional period where we're starting to see, some warm ups a little bit. As I stated, it's really wet, so soil moisture is not an issue. But it's really been a good time here lately, and look forward to some better days as far as weather goes, and anxiously awaiting the springtime and the growing of the grass and everything. As far as what else is going on around the cattle world, and getting into the markets just a little bit, boy, we're seeing seeing some consistently high prices on these cattle. We've run out of words to quantify what's going on these markets. The picture is not as rosy as it was last news update that we had, but it's still These cattle prices are still in nosebleed levels, and that's really drawn some cattle out of the country. We've seen a lot of cattle pulled early off of winter forages, whether that be wheat or ryegrass, whatever. A lot of folks have chosen to market those cattle a little earlier just because of these high prices. And so I think I stated that last news update we had. It's going to be interesting to see what happens later on in the growing season with these prices and everything and the availability of cattle on that. We also seen some just astonishing prices on these replacement cows, folks. You know, we went for a long time where it seemed like the replacement cows, the stocker type cows, their prices weren't keeping up with calf prices or even the kill cow prices. But boy, they've caught up with them now, and you're seeing some just astronomical figures what some people are giving on these bred cows, but also on the pair cattle too. And so we're seeing a lot of that and everything. That I'll jump right into the markets and everything like that. Our market report for the period February the 3rd to February the 17th. This is the averages of the market reports we were available to us, and these are the average prices paid. 500 to 600 pound steers, the average of the prices was $2.42 per pound to $3.26 per pound. On 5 to 6 weight heifers, $2.32 per pound to $2.97 per pound. Cull cows, $1.16 to $1.48 per pound. Cull bulls, $1.36 to $1.77. Averages of the high prices paid for bred cows, $2,683. Average of the high prices paid for pair cattle, $3,262. Far as how the market has changed this news update versus last. On 5 to 6 weight steers, they experienced a 2.2% decrease in price over the period. 5 to 6 weight heifers experienced no major change on prices and no major changes on cull cows either. Cull bulls saw a slight decrease, 0.03% decrease on cull bulls. Get a lot of comments, folks, on the direction of the market, and I've stated once, and I've stated it 100 times on these reports. If I really knew the direction the market was going, I'd probably be in a different line of work. But I'll tell you kind of a couple of adages I've been using, or an adage I've been using here lately to explain some of this markets. You know, people are wondering, well, how high can it go, and what level can we sustain a market on these yearling and these calves like we sell in Louisiana. And if somebody tells you that they know where that price point's at, I don't believe them. I can tell you this, and I talk to folks a lot, and I equate it to taking a horse and riding out into your pasture. Now, if you're riding along at just a walk or maybe a trot and you hit a gopher hole, the horse may stumble just a little bit, but it's going to recover itself quite rapidly, and you can keep on your way. However, if you're on that same horse and in that same pasture and you're at a dead run and you hit that gopher hole, the end result may not be that pretty. You may be in a significant wreck. And so that's kind of where we are on this cattle market right now. We are just on a runaway train on this market. And what's going to happen when we hit a stumbling block? What's going to happen when we hit a gopher hole? Liable to see some pretty good bit of tumult in the market is what I'm getting at. You know, there's a lot of external factors that are influencing the cattle market right now. A lot of talk about tariffs and trade wars, of course. Also some animal health considerations to take into account. But one of the main things, folks, in my opinion, that's driving a lot of this debate right now is demand, beef demand, plain and simple. Folks, how much can the American public stand to pay for our beef products? Folks, I think that's ultimately what's going to provide a lot of direction to this market and everything. So with that being said, we do have a few events coming up. Of course, we've got our Master Cattleman class. It's going to be at the Red River Station. It's going to be beginning February the 24th. So still time to register, folks. We still got a couple of days to register. If you're interested in taking that class, we've got a couple of seats available. reach out to us and get us signed up. And of course, we've got our AI class at the Hill Farm coming up in April, along with our Beef and Forest Field Day. And I know Ashley provides those links to those flyers and those dates and everything in the notes on this recording. So with that being said, I'm glad to be with y'all. I look forward to being able to record our next news update all together. You know, I can say pretty much anything about my colleagues right now with impunity, I guess, on this recording. But I just want to say how much I appreciate everyone that contributes to this news update. They're the epitome of professionalism. They care about agriculture. They care about the cattle industry, and I get to say all those nice things about them, and they can't do anything about it. So with that being said, y'all have a good week.